Hi guys, welcome back. I'm not sure where Jenny is. I sent her a message a few minutes ago. I was like, "Hey, looking forward to seeing you soon." We'll see. We'll see. If you're on Jenny's page, hey, because we added her YouTube channel to this week. So we're on TransParents, we're on Jenny's YouTube channel, and we're also on LinkedIn tonight. Um, and she's supposed to be here. Not sure. Maybe she'll pop in. We'll see. We'll see. So, with that being said, welcome everybody. This is the 66th episode of Transparents. Tonight's episode is what winning really looks like. Welcome back. This week has been heavy, chaotic, and loud, but it's also been full of clarity. And tonight, we're going to talk about something that doesn't get enough airtime. We are winning. Not because everything is perfect, not because the attacks have stopped, but because the biggest anti trans push at the federal level, the most extreme set of riders Congress has ever attempted, was defeated. Every single one. Tonight, we're breaking down what that means, what's still happening in the states, and how joy and resistance are showing up in unexpected places. See, I got a comment here. Dana, hey, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming. Ooh, Coop. Why am I forgetting the name of that brilliant classical piece? I'm not sure which piece you're talking about. Hopefully you'll remember and let me know. I've been, well, you know me, I'm always in music, but because I'm currently working on my sister's videos, I sometimes throw in classical pieces. So if you think about it, let me know. Seriously. So tonight, again, hopefully Jenny's going to come on at some point. But so the first one that we were going to talk about is the federal wins. Okay, so this week, every anti-trans rider that they had pushed into the House bill was defeated. And we knew that there could be some that would still be in there, but they had packed this thing full of it. So the House loaded nearly every appropriations bill with anti-trans riders last year. These riders would have banned federal funding for gender affirming care at any age, not just youth, any age group, punished schools that supported trans students, restricted healthcare access, and undermined civil rights protections. These were described as the most extreme anti-trans provisions ever attempted in Congress. What the bill actually did, every single anti-trans rider was removed, not watered down, not softened, removed. Oh, the intro tune. Yeah, I've got it somewhere because I do remember what that piece is. But yeah, no, I liked it. That's why I use it for the show. Um, So why this matters? It protects trans youth nationwide. It protects schools. It protects healthcare access. It shows that even in a hostile political climate, coordinated pressure works. And this is a win worth celebrating, a win worth understanding. And again, when we talk about pretty much the trans community this year and last year, we need to be looking for every bit of joy we can, every bit of happiness, every win, right? To keep the fuel going because we know it's going to be a long fight. It's not a short fight. These aren't short fights. So let's go into what winning actually means. Anti trans activists love to say they're winning when they strip rights away. But this week shows what real winning looks like. Winning is protecting kids, not targeting them. Winning is removing cruelty from legislation. Winning is stopping harmful policy before it reaches families. Winning is refusing to let fear dictate our future. We are not powerless. We are not losing ground. We are holding it together. So another story, and if you have questions about any of these stories, I did put links in. They're here on YouTube, and I did throw them in on LinkedIn. They may not show up necessarily on Jenny's YouTube channel. So if you don't see them there, go to our TransParents channel and you will be able to find the sources that I had for tonight's show. So one of the stories that we wanted to talk about was Nebraska. So this is one of our next flashpoints. Nebraska is back with a new wave of anti-trans bills. Bathroom bans in state-run facilities, new restrictions on gender-affirming healthcare, proposals that could impact adults as well as youth. This matters because Nebraska is becoming a bellwether state, a place where anti-trans policy is tested before it spreads elsewhere. Parents are organizing, providers are speaking out, and testimony is powerful and growing. National attention is increasing. This is about vigilance without despair. Florida. And we know Florida is always trying to stay on the top of this list, right? So Florida has a new one, criminalizing care. Florida is pushing one of the most alarming bills of the year. It would criminalize aiding and abetting gender affirming care for trans youth, potentially targeting pharmacists, therapists, mental health providers, and parents seeking out of state care. This would create a chilling effect across the entire healthcare system because what it says is, okay, if you're a resident here in Florida and you decide you're going to go to another state for your care, we call that aiding and abetting, and we can charge you with a crime. So, where a lot of our families we have seen over the last year have decided to move from higher red areas to blue areas so that they know that their kids are safer within those school systems, so they know that they can access gender affirming care. We know we've seen a huge part of the gender affirming population shift location. And so now what Florida's trying to say is if you leave Florida to try and go get your care somewhere else, we're still going to charge you with a crime. Overreach, guys. It's overreach. And this matters because when one state criminalizes care, others are watching. And this is a moment for clarity, not panic. Where the resilience is. Legal challenges are already being prepared, providers are coordinating, and families are not backing down. And national organizations are mobilizing. This is about naming the danger and the response. So one of our, let me see, I got a comment, Cooper, awaiting AP's additional 2 cent on Florida. AP has been really busy. Like, I'm lucky if he and I speak once a week the last couple of weeks. So I'm not sure that he'll be here tonight, Coop. I know he's juggling a lot of plates. Um, so one of the big things that I wanted to highlight tonight, again, this is about Joy's resistance, winning. The Girl Scout story. So if you're a popular follower of the store or the show, we talk about Aaron Reed quite often. My words are not coming out properly tonight. And if you want to, and I actually typically will state this somewhere in the show, if you want to keep up with legislation and what is going on across the country, especially anti-trans legislation, Aaron Reed's legislative tracker is the most up-to-date that you will find. Now, if it's pro-trans information, sometimes they don't get that up to date as quickly because they are more worried about the anti-trans implications, right? But that is updated like every 15 minutes. Everywhere it's at, no matter where it's at in the court, no matter where it's at in Congress, she's on top of it. Her and her team, they are always on top of it. So if there's anything that you ever want to track with these, that's one of the best places for me that I go to go get my resources for. And this is actually one of her stories that she had run, which was that trans and non-binary Girl Scouts launched a cookie campaign and sold over 71,000 boxes in 2025. And this matters because it's a national show of solidarity. It's a reminder that trans kids are loved, supported, and celebrated. It's proof that joy is not just survival, it's resistance. And it's a counter narrative to the hostility in the news cycle. And right now, the news cycle is heavy. I don't know that the trans, anti-trans, or trans anything is getting as much coverage as a lot of other political topics at the moment. But we do know that this is the community that is being attacked the most within legislation. That's why we talk about it. LinkedIn user, I'm not sure who, it's not telling me who you are. It's just saying, Sana, hey, I can't stay on, but saw this live session pop up. Just wanted to say hi. Hey, yes, because I'm glad. Cooper, thank you for sharing that was who that was because I couldn't even tell who it was. It just comes up LinkedIn user for me. And yeah, like it's been a crazy girl. Like I've been floored. But yeah, as far as like the Girl Scout cookies, like I think this is a big thing because it says that nationally there are people behind you. And it's not just nationally. This is a huge organization, the Girl Scouts. And for them to say we're not going to bow, we're not going to let some piece of legislation tell us who and we can and can't support. These are children. They're children. And this show of support is huge. It's just as big as when you see some national retailer who goes in and says, no, I'm not going to support the community anymore. Seeing support is just as big as hearing about people who are not supportive. And those are the things that you should be highlighting within your family, within your household, to your kids to keep that piece alive. You have to counter the negativity. So we had a couple of discussion prompts, and I'm going to go to the second one for now just because Jenny's not here to back and forth with me. So how do we distinguish responsible vigilance from fear-based thinking? If you look at vigilance, vigilance equals awareness, fear equals panic. Vigilance looks at patterns, fear looks at catastrophizing everything. Vigilance is action. Fear tends to be paralysis. Vigilance is in community. Fear leads us to isolation. Vigilance is about protecting our kids. Fear only scares them. And so I wanted to go into like a subsection of this because it's very important right now because parents are understandably on the edge. But when we're on the edge, our children pick up on that emotion. If we're in fear, they're going to pick up on that fear and they're going to become scared or more scared than they already were. So let's talk about some of this. Helping our children navigate fear without absorbing it. Kids are sponges. They pick up on tone, tension, and the emotional climate around them long before they understand the politics behind it. When the world feels hostile, children, especially trans and gender diverse youth, may internalize fear in ways that look like withdrawal, irritability, hypervigilance, catastrophizing, shutting down, and assuming the worst. Right? They avoid. They don't want to know about it. Like, what? Nope. I can't deal with it anymore. These are little indicators that your kid is getting too much information, right? Or too much negative information, and that maybe you should sit down with them and talk about whatever is triggering them at the moment. Master Yoda, uh-oh. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Perfect example, Cooper. Perfect example. Okay, so some of the things that parents can do is hold space for this moment with your children without amplifying that fear. Validate the feeling, but not the fear. We can say things like, it makes sense that you feel scared. A lot is happening right now. Or your feelings are real and valid, and you're not alone in them. Validation opens the door for them to talk about what's going on. Reassurance walks them through it. Offer clarity without overwhelm. Kids don't need the full political landscape. They need the truth in digestible pieces. Some adults are making harmful decisions and many others are fighting back. That's an example. You're safe with me and I will always protect you. It's a big one in my house. Or there are so many people working every day to make sure you have a future where you can be yourself. This keeps them informed without drowning them in a lot of extra information. And this depends on the age of your child, right? And the curiosity of your child. If your child is a curious kid who wants to be more involved, nurture that as long as it's not leading to more anxiety. But if they don't want to be involved, that's not something they should be forced into either. It's a lot right now. Let them tell you where they're comfortable. Model groundedness. Children regulate through us. If they speak from or if we speak from panic, they will absorb that panic. If we speak from clarity, they absorb clarity. We can model calm breathing, steady tone, naming your own feelings without spiraling, and showing them what grounded vigilance looks like. Now, this is helpful in regulating. I will also tell you that we also had something in my house called the round table growing up, where my kids were able to come to the table, and no matter what that feeling was, anxiety, anger, disgust, you name it, depression, they could name it. And if they use a louder voice, if they needed to slam their fist on a table, those things were allowed because we were in a controlled environment where I knew that they were just letting their feelings out. And sometimes our children just need a space to vent, to let it out, to let it go. It doesn't do any good if they hold on to it. So while I agree with this, we need the steady tone, the calm breathing. There are times where it's okay for our kids to get a little animated, right? And allowing them to have that opportunity says it's okay if you feel like right at this moment your world is spiraling. That's real. If my kid is freaking out or in anxiety over something, I'm not going to tell them you're overreacting because in that moment, their feelings are true to them. And if I shut them down and say, I don't hear your feelings, they're not going to come to me about their feelings anymore. And these kids already feel isolated enough. This is about opening the door for them. This is about giving them community and not giving them space. They need it. They need safe spaces, especially now. So, that being said, the next thing is reconnect them to joy and agency. Fear shrinks the world, joy expands it. Help them reconnect to friendships, hobbies, creativity, community, and the parts of their identity that feel powerful and alive. Joy is not avoidance, it's resilience. Finding joy in difficult times is another way to win. So, whether it be my kid was into art, so we occasionally went to art exhibits, or we lived near a major art museum, and or not major, but for the state art museum, and so we would go to the grounds and walk the grounds for new exhibits that had come out. Those were ways that they could do things that were nurturing to them. Creativity. My kid is also an artist, so drawing, painting, sketching, you name it, those are things that bring him joy. So whether he needs to decompress or whether he just wants to randomly sketch, that's something he gets to do. And that connects, that's a piece of himself. So he's nurturing himself. And that's kind of what we want to. We want to provide tools that our kids can pull out at any time and use them, whether we're there to remind them or not. And that's something I've learned. If I'm wigging out, if I'm anxious, if things are getting overwhelmed, I start pulling back from social media, from things that it's just too much, it's just too much chaos, it's too much noise. I'd rather sit back and spend some family time with my kids. Hey, let's work on a puzzle or play a game. I'm currently sitting with about 5.5 inches of snow outside. Last weekend, we were supposed to get snow and we had a major ice storm. Luckily, we did not lose power either time. But that's, again, been something that you can just kind of pull back and enjoy Mother Nature. These are all things that are good for you, that are good for your kid. That your kid seeing you ground yourself, gain clarity from pulling back, scaling back, cutting back on the things that stress you, teaches your kid, okay, when I feel stressed, it's okay to pull back. It's okay to say, you know what, right this minute, that's not my focus. My focus is here. It gives them permission to say no. For a really long time, I think the first 30 years of my life, I didn't think I was allowed to say no. That's important. It's really important. Why should certain people have their feelings validated, not others? By this, I'm referring to any amplifying victims' feelings. You're right. I mean, it is. We go back and forth. Like, you'll have somebody who says they're offended because that trans person is getting more attention or whatever. And again, everybody has their own. I don't think this is about putting us in groups. There's always that question about labels, right? And we talk about labels in a way because we know that this community is a marginalized community. And until they get the same access, the same freedoms, the same rights, without the same pushback, then we're going to keep using that label. to say they deserve that. And we'll stop when you express it. But until then, we have to keep reminding people that this is a group that's been ostracized. This is a group that's been othered. Until you stop othering them and you treat them like everybody else, we're going to keep saying it. And being we've entered Black History Month, let me also say that we understand, Jenni and I both, we have white trans men as sons. That puts them at the least that we have to worry about. We know that Black and brown trans people have way more targets on their back, particularly trans Black and brown females. This is important for all of us. Our children knowing that they're protected, knowing that other people see them, that other people are going to stand with them, it's important. And I think right now, with the political chaos that's going on, I think a lot of people are beginning to see through the noise. I hope. I think more and more are willing to come forward and go, you know what, maybe we just made way too much out of this, which is the truth of it. Jenni and I have talked about it for over 2 years now, that the amount of bills that have been passed on trans people in our Congress, now for 3 years going, are the most amount of bills that we've ever seen on one topic in the history of our Congress. Bills about people that make up less than 2% of our total population. So if our politicians are so busy making bills about 2% of the population, what are they doing for the rest of you? The rest of us? Because this is bait. This is easy bait. Because what they're doing in the background is stripping people's rights. Have you not seen what's going on in Minnesota? We have the right to protest. We have the right to carry a gun legally. And now they want to roll that back. We need to be really, really careful, because when you start taking away rights from some, that means they're coming for the rest of us. And that's why Jenni and I speak out, because we're not going to do it. Uh-oh, still no snow in your area this season. Cooper, we are in an area that just doesn't get a lot of snow. And in fact, back east, like East Coast, where I'm from, my family members, like the people in the town that I'm from, woke up. The measurements there today I'm seeing are anywhere from 14 to 24 inches, depending on where you're at. And this is an area that we get a trace a year, if that. So everybody's frozen down there. I mean, frozen. And luckily, like I said, we got 5 inches of snow here. That's still going to keep us, because the temps are so cold and they're going to be so frigid for a while. We probably won't move. Like, school's already canceled for tomorrow. It's remote learning on Tuesday and possibly a 2-hour delay on Wednesday already. And that is projected because our temps are so low, it's just not going to go anywhere, even if it was just 5 inches. So, oh, Jeffrey, thank you. Thank you. Martin Nehemiah has, it does. It does. It has so many references lately. There are so many references. No matter what you're talking about, if you allow them to come for some, they're going to keep coming. If you allow and you don't say anything, oh, that doesn't affect me. It does. Whether you believe it or not, it does. Down the road, it certainly will, and it certainly will affect your children, especially if you've got a kid like mine and Jenni's who's trans, or within any of the gender spectrum. You're running, we're all waiting, at times with bated breath. And that's kind of why I wanted to remind you that you could be vigilant, but you don't have to sit back in fear. I'm not. I refuse. That's just kind of how I am. Does that mean that my child is always that way? No. But I do think it helps him that I'm not freaking out. If I lived in a state like Florida, would that change? Would that be different? That's a possibility. But I don't know. I don't live in Florida. I live in North Carolina, and I can only deal with or tell you my experiences here, where I'm at, what we've dealt with. Um, and yeah, that is the big one right now is do things that help ground your kid, that help connect your kid with being calm, with celebrating who they are. Joy, as I said, joy is resilience. Join the resistance, won't you? Come over here. We have cookies. Isn't that what they always say? Uh, Remind them that they are not responsible for fixing the world. Here's another one. Children often internalize the idea that their identity is the cause of the conflict. Let me read that again. Children often internalize the idea that their identity is the cause of conflict. Can you imagine being a 5-year old or a 9-year old and thinking, looking at what's going on in the world on TV, how people speak about the trans community and feeling safe and not feeling like they might be part of the problem when they're not? The lack of acceptance is the problem. The lack of being a human being, the lack of empathy is the problem, not the child. This is where we've gotten this wrong. Really, really wrong. We know that this population is one of the highest sets of kids with mental health disorders, with suicidal ideation, with unaliving themselves, with homelessness, with substance abuse disorders. And a lot of that can be avoided with support at home, with support from their communities, with support from their schools, with support to getting access for health care, which, depending on the age, sometimes is just therapy or wearing the clothes you want to wear, being called by the name and using the pronouns you choose. It doesn't hurt someone if you use a different pronoun for your child, no matter how much pushback they give you. If they can change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and not have a problem with that, they can change a pronoun. Cooper. The people with 500 million cookies tell the person with one cookie that someone without a cookie will steal their cookie. Yes, that. That. And then the people with one cookie will believe what the person with the 500 million cookies said. And it's just like, you know, you're closer to living everybody else with the one cookie than you are to the 500 million cookies, right? It's chaos out there some days. So remind them again, you can counter this. If they start to internalize it, this is a way to counter it. You are not the problem. The world is still learning. Adults are responsible for fixing this, not you. Or your job is to be a kid. My job is to protect you. That is one of the most grounding truths a child can hear. Mount Denali. Yeah, there you go. Not McKinley. Exactly. Another one. Like, just because somebody says it does not mean it's true. I'm sure, actually, I'm not sure. I know trans people have been called all kinds of words, all kinds of slurs. None of it made them that reality, though. None of that name calling changed who they actually were. It's intolerance. That's what it is. It's intolerance. So let me look at the other topic because I don't have Jenny here, guys. When she's not here to run off of, I talk rather fast. So like I'm knocking my episodes out in like 30 minutes versus the hour because she's not here to feed off of. Um, So one of the other things that I had noticed was just to kind of pull back in what we had talked about last week, which was looking at the parallels we see between early authoritarian movements and today's rhetoric. And that can be another way to kind of show your kid um, that A, this has been done before. B, after a lot of atrocity and harm, good did come out on the other side of it. Now, are we trying to repeat that playbook? I'm certainly not. I know some politicians would like to. But the difference between now and then is we have books about what happened then. We couldn't see in real time what was going on. Today, for the most part, most people have some sort of smartphone. There are cameras everywhere, whether you talk about on streets, on businesses, on houses, on ring cameras, on your phones, officers wearing cameras, recording. We have information being recorded from angles tenfold what we used to. And yet somehow we're repeating steps that were made early on in the 1930s, even though we still have those smartphones. And I'm sure your child could be coming to you and saying, I don't understand. This is all right there. There are some people who are not going to hear. We are not going to win everyone over. Not today. 20 years from now, maybe. Not today. And it's okay to curate your space for your child. Family members who are supportive, friends who are supportive, community leaders who are supportive. And if you're in, say, a church, right? Or some kind of community group, after school activities, whatever it is, and you start to get pushback as a parent about your child, find your child a safer space. That's what you can do to help them. Because right now, that's what your kid needs most. Safety. Safety and love. Unfortunately, this is not a quick win. We're going to have to keep pushing. We're going to have to keep calling it out. We're going to have to keep standing up. But I remind you, be Simone Biles. Come off that podium and lock your knees like a goat. Figure out what your line in the sand is for your kid, how much you're willing to say, what you're willing to do, and stand firm on it. Don't backslide. I'll, I will give you one piece of information, a little insight. If you backslide, your kid is not going to trust you. If you bend to what society wants and put your your boss's point of view, your relative's point of view, or beliefs above your child's truth, your child is not going to trust you. Even if your circle is small, know who you trust, know who's in your circle, because it matters. It matters to you, and it certainly matters to your kid, especially right now. It matters to your kid. If you've got somebody who's coming over who's making comments that are kind of, you're raising your eyebrows at them, why are you having that person in your home? I'm not saying break the friendship with them. You can keep the friendship with them. But if they're coming into your house around your kid, that impacts your kid. You can have those conversations on the phone. and it not impact them. Doesn't mean you have to walk away from everything. Like there are people that I keep in my space that don't support, but at the same time, I know they're on the fence. And I feel like with Tom, they may come around. And I don't want to lose everybody. I'm not going to just, oh, you don't accept my kid, you're gone. Now, if you're hateful, that's not staying in my space. No. You might can come around later and apologize and say something. I might let you back in the door. Certainly not around my child, though, because that is our job as parents is to protect our kids first. First. And granted, we have adults, but again, for Jenny and I both, like our kids really didn't kind of figure it out till they were adults. That's okay. We all figure out certain things. I didn't figure out some things about myself till I was 30, 32, 33. It's a curve. We're all on different points of the curve. But this is what's being put out in the media is an old playbook. They're trying to reuse some of that. They're trying to confuse people about it with the misinformation and the disinformation. And one of the best things you can do as a parent is just when somebody says something like that to you, that's not true. Give them facts. If you don't know facts and they're interested, send them to fact finding information like Aaron Reed's legislation tracker. Aaron Reed has a Substack that you can follow as well that's packed full of articles with tons of information. Very helpful to parents, very helpful to families when a child is coming out and you're trying to get your extended family to understand your point of view. And I would recommend doing that, sharing this information with them without your child so that you learn, are they on the fence? Are they against it? Are they willing to listen more and learn? So that you can gauge that safety with your child the next time you go to a family event because it matters. My oldest does not go to family events. There's no need. He grew up around family members and heard them on holidays and what their viewpoints were. There's no need for him to be a guinea pig. That's the truth of it. And that's okay. Sometimes family are the people that we choose and not blood. Jenny is family. She's in Oklahoma. She and I have never met in person, but she's family. Her children are my family. My children are her family. That's community. And the more we pull together, right, as families, the more protected our kids are. Because there's other families out there doing the same thing. And the more of us doing the same thing, the less alone we feel as parents fighting this fight, and the less our children will feel. We just have to keep standing, keep pushing. It's it's a way to stop the cruelty. If you don't stand up for it, then they're allowed to be targeted. That allows the normalization of it. It normalizes bystander silence. We've seen what that does. It is not helpful. It wasn't helpful back then. It's not helpful now. Again, this isn't about pattern, or this is about pattern recognition, not panicking. So with that being said, and like I said, again, it's trying to teach your child more about what vigilance is versus fear-based thinking, right? Awareness versus panic. Patterns versus the sky is falling. Action versus paralysis, freezing in place. Community versus being isolated. Protecting your children versus scaring them more. This is a big one. They read our emotions. They pick up on our tone. We cannot say a word. And by the way you're moving around a kitchen, the way you're unpacking groceries, the way you're tapping keys on a keyboard, can all tell them about where you're at. And we just need to remind them that it's okay. Sometimes it's like I said, it's okay if they're scared. Like, you don't want to tell them don't be scared. Don't tell me you're not scared. But help them see that it doesn't have to be about fear. Especially our fear as parents. It shouldn't be our fear passed on to our kids. They have enough that they're dealing with without taking on our fear as well. It's too much. The longer version, not the easy one. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. There you go. I can always trust you to pull that one out for me, Cooper. For real. But yeah, I think that's just what I've been seeing this week is just there is a lot of fear. But that's the point. They're putting fear out there in every imaginable way because they want us to get quiet. They want us to feel overwhelmed. They want us to feel like we need to go hide. We need to be quiet. We need to go back into a corner. We need to regroup. We don't. We don't need to do any of those things. Unless for your mental health, you need to take that pause. Then do so. But I know that's their game. They want us to be feared. And I would rather be scared and stand up and fight for my kid than ever back down. Because if I back down, who protects my kid? My kid just wants to live his life. He's an adult. That's it. He wants to live it like everybody else does. And we should all have that right. In fact, if you were born in this country, there's a document that says that you do have that right. So, no matter what certain people in positions of power say. So, with that being said, and since it doesn't look like Jenny's going to show this week, I want to do our closing. So this week reminded us that winning isn't about cruelty, control, or stripping rights away. Winning is about protecting our children. It's about removing harm from legislation. Winning is showing up for one another when the world feels hostile. We are living in a moment where clarity matters, where courage matters, where community matters. And tonight, we choose all three. Because advocacy is not extremism. It's love in action. And love is never a crime. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight. I hope you'll join us next Sunday. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. I'm not sure what the episode will be about, but we'll announce it midweek. So with that being said, hope y'all have a wonderful week. Good night.